For 4,500 years, one single structure has basically defined human ambition, the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's an ancient wonder that, even today, is just breathtaking. But behind all that grandeur is a mystery that is just as massive. So let's dive into what we actually know.
First, let's just try to get a handle on the scale of this thing. The Great Pyramid is estimated to weigh a colossal 6 million tons. I mean, that's a number so big it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around. To put that into perspective, just look at this. The Burj Khalifa, right? The tallest building in the modern world. It weighs about 500,000 tons. The Great Pyramid is more than 12 times heavier. That right there, that visual, shows you the insane scale of what the ancient Egyptians pulled off.
Which of course brings us to the one question that has just stumped historians and engineers for centuries. How on earth did they do it? They didn't have cranes, they didn't have bulldozers, and get this, they didn't even use the wheel to transport these massive blocks.
Okay, so before we even get to the how, we kind of need to tackle the why. The whole purpose of the pyramid is the first big piece of the puzzle. And while there's a clear scientific consensus, some, well, let's just say some pretty out there alternative theories have popped up over the years.
Okay, so the official story, the one historians and archaeologists all agree on, is pretty straightforward. The Great Pyramid was a tomb. It was built for the Pharaoh Khufu. You see, ancient Egyptians had this deep belief in an afterlife, and these pyramids were like eternal palaces, packed with everything a pharaoh would need to live on forever.
Here's the catch, though. When archaeologists finally got inside, the sarcophagus was empty, and all the treasure was gone, probably looted centuries ago. And that big question mark, that empty room, it left this huge vacuum for people's imaginations to just run wild. And boy, did they run wild. One of the most popular theories you'll hear is that the pyramid was some kind of ancient power plant. And the proof for this huge claim? This one temple carving that kinda sorta looks like a light bulb. But in reality, archaeologists are clear. It's not a light bulb. It's telling a mythological story. Plus, we've never found a single other piece of evidence for ancient Egyptian electrical tech. Not one.
Then there's the granary theory, which got a lot of attention when politician Ben Carson brought it up. The idea is that these massive structures were just for storing grain. It's a simple idea, but it completely falls apart when you look at the evidence. It contradicts all the ancient texts we have found, and there's zero archaeological proof to back it up. So historians are pretty united on this. Nope, not a granary. So we can be pretty sure it was a tomb, but who actually built it? Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because the image we all have from Hollywood and even from old historians, it's completely wrong.
Yeah, that old myth, which actually started with the Greek historian Herodotus, paints this brutal picture of slaves being forced into this backbreaking labor. But modern archaeology tells a totally different story. The builders were a paid, skilled, and respected workforce of about 20 to 30,000 Egyptians. They lived in nearby towns, ate well, and saw this as a great national project, a way to serve their pharaoh.
All right, we know the why and the who. Now for the main event, the how. How did they cut, move, and lift millions of stones, some weighing up to 80 tons, using just simple tools? First up, getting the stone out of the ground. For the softer limestone, they could use copper tools. For super hard granite, they literally just smash it with dolerite rocks, which are even harder. But their most ingenious trick involved water. They'd find a crack in the rock, jam wooden wedges into it, and then soak the wedges. As the wood swelled up, the force was so immense it would just split the stone right off. So simple, but so brilliant. So now they have these giant blocks. But how in the world do you drag them across the desert with no wheels? For the longest time, this was a massive puzzle. The answer, believe it or not, was hiding in plain sight this whole time, in an ancient painting from a tomb. This painting unlocked the secret. It shows a worker pouring water on the sand right in front of this huge sled. When scientists actually tested this, they were blown away. It turns out that getting the sand just the right amount of damp, not too wet, not too dry, literally cuts the friction in half. A stone that was impossible to move suddenly becomes movable. Okay, so they've managed to drag these massive stones to the construction site. Problem solved, right? Nope, not even close. Now they face what is maybe the biggest challenge of all. How do you get an 80-ton block of granite almost 150 meters up into the air with no cranes? Well, experts have basically narrowed it down to two main theories. The first is a giant ramp.
either wrapping around the pyramid or built straight out from it. And we have solid evidence for this. Archaeologists actually found the remains of a 4,500-year-old ramp system at a quarry. The second theory involves levers, using a tool called a shadoof to lift the stones up one level at a time. Both are totally plausible, and you know what? They probably used a combination of both.
And just when you think you can't be any more impressed, you learn about the precision. This part of the design is it's on another level. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
The Great Pyramid is aligned almost perfectly to true north, south, east, and west. The error is just 1/15 of a degree. To get that kind of accuracy today, you need GPS and lasers. So how did they do it thousands of years ago with just the naked eye?
Well, one very clever and scientifically sound method is the autumn equinox. On that one day of the year, a shadow will cast a perfect east-west line, which they could have used to get their bearings. Then there's the much more famous Orion correlation theory, the idea that the pyramids mirror the stars in Orion's belt. It's a cool idea for sure, but astronomers have shown the alignment isn't a perfect match, which lands it firmly in the category of fringe theory.
So we've pieced together a lot of the puzzle. We have solid ideas about the why, the who, and a lot of the how. But it would just be wrong to sit here and pretend we've got it all figured out. The Great Pyramid, it seems, isn't ready to give up all of its secrets just yet.
And maybe the biggest challenge to all these theories is the sheer speed of the project. We know the whole thing was built in about 20 years. Do the math on that. It means a new multi-ton block had to be cut, moved, and perfectly set in place every 3 minutes. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 2 decades. The logistics are just staggering.
And if that's not enough for you, there's the mortar. The stuff they use to bind the stones together is, well, we don't know what it is. It's so strong it's held up for thousands of years through earthquakes and weathering. Scientists have analyzed its chemical makeup, but to this day, we literally cannot recreate it.
You know, it's really tempting to fill in these gaps with wild stories about aliens or lost technology, but that kind of misses the point. The real wonder here is in the process of discovery itself, and knowing what we know, being honest about what we don't, and trusting that future generations will keep searching for the answers.
The Great Pyramid wasn't built by magic. It was built by human beings. And that simple fact is way more awe-inspiring than any conspiracy theory. It forces you to look at history differently and to ask, what other amazing feats did our ancestors achieve that we're only just beginning to understand?